I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, Velocities in Music, the best kept secret in music reviews. Today, in our request / throwback extravaganza that we're doing, filming a big block of these for the end of the year, Tom and I are very excited and feel very privileged to get to review one of our favorite albums of all time. I know it's one of mine. I think it's
definitely one of mine. Yep.
Death Cab for Cutie, their 2000 release. We have the facts and we are voting yes. This is Death Cab's second album in their discography, and kind of a major step for the band. I mean, they definitely set their sights a little bit higher than There's Something About Airplanes. This is a concept record about a ruined relationship. Kind of the you can really tell that there's a lot of emotional angst in the lyrics. There's a lot of just kind of a lot of themes of infidelity and passion and things like that of that nature. So read into that what you will. It definitely comes into play as you listen to this. Tom, when did you start listening to We Have the Facts? What were your initial sort of reactions to it, and where are you at with it today?
Well, that's a good question, because I've definitely had quite a journey with this album. This was one of the first real indie albums that I got into.
Me too.
You know, early 2000s when I was in early high school, going through driver's ed, stuff like that, and this was like the soundtrack of my summer of what it would be like 2003 or something, somewhere in there. But at first I was very turned on by the great delivery of Ben Gibbard's vocals, the great melodies that he wrote, and also just those very nice slow moving guitar lines that go throughout this entire album. It's almost like all of the guitar on every song, it's like, well, and I guess the whole song, it's like it's a few beats per minute slower than you feel like it should be, but it gives it that kind of emotional drag that just
Christopher Wallace's guitar on this album is really a highlight for me, because you have all these, like you said, slow, kind of almost slowed down guitar parts, but all this electric guitar that's just very subtle, beautiful electric guitar melodies that really guitar just sings at you. I mean, it's a whole nother layer of melodies on top of Gibbard's vocals, which he actually is very good at composing vocal melodies, and then his delivery. He has an interesting voice. I don't really think that it's a particularly high quality vocal presentation. However, I think that he does it well for what he's going for.
He sells it.
Exactly.
He makes it believable. I mean, on this album, and this is the big reason why Jake and I consider this to be the highlight of Death Cab for Cutie's discography, of all their work.
Before Zoe just came through and ruined everything. Everything!
But the big thing for me is that what Ben Gibbard does is, like you said, this is kind of a concept album. There are definitely lyrical themes here. Definitely tells kind of a story, and regardless of whether he was kind of young, maybe his voice wasn't as mature as it is now, but what he did is he created a persona. And he created a persona of heartbreak, of desperation, of that kind of sadness, but it never gets too down. It's never so oh God, man, I just can't go through this with you anymore. You don't want to shut it off, because he effectively sucks you into this storyline. And to me, that is quite an accomplishment. And I just don't think it's something that I don't think Death Cab has ever lived up to.
No, they definitely haven't. And to go in that a little further, I mean, what he really does is he creates riddles with his lyrics that you have to decode. I remember my senior year of high school, so this would have been 2004, just digging into the lyrics, literally taking, not just this album, but every Death Cab album that was out at the time. So this was pre-plans, and just going through all the lyrics, trying to figure out how do these different characters that he's making, how do they relate? Where does the story? Because I feel like this album, if you really dig into the lyrics, it jumps all over on a linear time scale. You have, in title track, the beginnings of what seems to be kind of a very immature relationship, and then it kind of progresses throughout the album, and then, it gets pretty dark by the end. Some bad things happen to this relationship, and it doesn't end necessarily on a good note, which is why I think when you get to the end of the album, you get a lot more of the emotive tracks. I'd say my favorite tracks are the last 4 tracks on this album. I love every track on this album, but the last 4 tracks are where all the emotion lies. And you get to see this just feelings of despair, especially in the track No Joy in Mudville, and they just do such a great job of just pounding that home with those 8 notes that they just
it's another one of those songs that you feel like you're kind of stumbling and dragging along with it, but it portrays that emotion because of it so well.
Another thing I love about Death Cab for Cutie in particular, and I think singularly, and we have the facts and we're voting yes. In any other album, I can't really say this. In this album, they have this unique combination. They have this it's almost like they're playing live for you, like they're just in like a quiet little room, kind of like what we're filming in right now, and they're just jamming out for you in a private session. They play so tightly together. Everything is so coordinated. All the drums and the bass and the guitar and Ben Gibbard's vocals, it all works together as one cohesive unit, yet it feels so very natural. And that's something that when you throw in massive studio recordings and all these different layers, it sucks all the authenticity out of the sound. It sucks all that charm of just recording, something more, authentic and live for that matter. And that's something that I've always felt that Death Cab's newer work has lacked, is that authenticity. It sounds too fake and dressed up and just smothered in makeup and Zoe's perfume. It's just that's all I get out of it. And you go back to this, and this is emotion and meaningful lyrics that take time to decode, that aren't just surface level, and guitar lines that just stick with you. I can't tell you how many times I've had multiple songs on this album stuck in my head at the same time, and that is just terrible because you can't function. But it's great from a music perspective, though. I don't really have a lot else to say about this other than I love this album.
Yeah, me too.
Still, I've listened to this album for over a decade, or about a decade now, and still, I listened to it today, and I still found things that I'd never heard before that I loved. I'm still decoding the lyrics, going, "Wow, this is so cool how he did this," and I just want to keep listening. So, one of the best albums of all time, in my opinion, that I've ever heard. Definitely
Same
one of the
here.
best indie rock albums I've ever
It's like
heard.
top 20 for me.
Oh yeah, it's usually in my top 10. I'm going 100.
I'm going 100.
What do you guys think? What's your favorite Death Cab album? I know that, I'm complaining a lot about Death Cab's newer work, and I'm a, hipster here just saying, "Oh, the old Death Cab, they're so good." If you like some of the newer Death Cab, that's totally fine. This is just more my cup of tea. I strongly encourage, if you haven't, to go through, read all the lyrics, try to decode it, because it's just awesome when you do it. Totally makes it a whole new listening experience. Please let us know what you think at www.velocitiesandmusic.com or youtube.com/velocitiesandmusic. Follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook. My buddy Tom here and myself are on Facebook and Twitter a lot and are eager to talk with you guys about things that you're into in music. I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, moving music critique forward.
Oh God, I didn't do it.